Good evening, Facebook followers, to the RTO Doctor Facebook page, and those of you following us on LinkedIn and YouTube, wherever you're joining us from this evening or today. Whenever you're following us, welcome, and thank you for following us for 30 Days, 30 Tips second series. Tonight, I'd just like to very quickly talk to you about some regulator updates that have been happening pretty quietly in the background. With regards to the ASQA updates, for those of you who are ASQA registered, in the last 24 hours, there has been the release of a draft consultation paper for a review of their schedule of fees and charges. Quite a lengthy document. I had actually intended to talk to you about it this evening, but it's going to take 65 pages, I think, from memory, for me to summarise and go through and look at the pros and cons and give you some advice. So hopefully I'll have that for you tomorrow. If not, it will be on Thursday, depending on how I go time-wise, because I've got a few AAT matters on that I'm dealing with at the moment as well. So ASQA have had their update overnight in relation to the draft consultation on fees and charges. And like I said, it's quite lengthy. It's 65 odd pages. There have also been notifications of a number of RTOs who have been cancelled and again still have the opportunity to appeal a decision. So those notices go up on the ASQA website pending the opportunity for review. So in terms of ASQA, that's about it for the last few days in terms of updates. But interestingly, in the last 24 hours, I received the TAC annual strategy for regulation for 2017-2018. And what was interesting about it is some of the things that they're focusing on. And while ASQA haven't released theirs, I think TAC is always a good indicator of what might be coming up in terms of the ASQA strategic reviews. So I quickly downloaded it. It's only a quick 3-pager. And basically, the things that they're going to be focusing on for 2017-2018 are a little bit of a surprise because some of it is actually repeated from stuff that we've just been going through in recent years and recent months even. So in terms of training products, some of the things that they're going to be focusing on are community services, so Certificate 3 in Early Childhood Education and Care, and the Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care, and the Cert 3 in Individual Support, or its successors. And what they're saying is that anybody who adds those qualifications will require a site audit. So for those of you wishing to add those qualifications, if you're doing it for the first time, remember that you are required to have all resources and facilities for every unit of competency in each of those qualifications to meet the assessment conditions and the work placements and all of those things for each of those qualifications for every unit in them before you apply to ASQA, because what's going to happen when you get to the audit is those things will be requested by the regulator, and if you don't have them, you'll be deemed non-compliant. And of course, with their new regulatory strategy, there is no more a 20 working day period. It is strictly critical non-compliance and notice of intention to cancel or reject registration. So please bear that in mind when you're applying for an addition to scope for any of those qualifications. But they've also listed construction, and we're back to the white card. So what they're looking at here is changes to the assessment requirements along with industry concerns about the quality of training and assessment practices linked to the white card. So they will be spending a lot more time scrutinising the assessment conditions and the assessment requirements generally in relation to the white card. Also coming up is the Certificate 2 in Security Operations. It's been deemed by industry as an area of high risk, and there's been an analysis of the issues linked to the qualification which may result in a targeted regulatory response strategy. Now, we've recently had strategic reviews into childcare, white card, security operations, and guess what the next one is? It's training and education. So TAC will continue to apply regulatory scrutiny on qualifications from the TAE training package, and also they're going to be focusing quite heavily on units of competency leading to high-risk work licenses. And yes, of course, that is another area where we've recently had a strategic audit from TAC. In terms of the standards for RTOs, generally speaking, they're going to be focusing again on marketing and governance. Again, we've recently had a strategic review into the marketing practices of RTOs, and again, that's coming up as a focus for the annual regulatory strategy for TAC for 2017-2018. And the amount of training is also coming up again. So all of these areas that I'm pointing out to you as areas of focus in the TAC annual regulatory strategy 2017-2018 have all been the focus of a strategic review nationally in recent years. So they're going back and they're reviewing things that have already been subject to a strategic review. Interestingly, the next two items are areas where there has also been a lot of focus in recent years as well. One of them is assessment practices. Obviously, assessment practices has been around forever and a day, and ASQA are forever talking about how the assessment practice in our sector is insufficient, inadequate, and needs to be reworked. So that is another area of focus for the annual regulatory strategy for TAC, as well as trainer and assessor vocational competence and industry currency. Now, interestingly for our followers, what you will find in the coming fortnight, I believe it is, we have a special guest for our 30 days, 30 tips as a special request from one of our followers. One of our followers has requested that we really try and pin down what some of the issues are around trainer and assessor competence and currency and experience, and how to best present evidence for that in an audit, as well as how to maintain competency, currency and industry experience when you're working so many hours as a trainer and assessor, and how do CEOs and compliance managers ensure that that is maintained as well. So we'll have a special guest and we'll bring more information about that in the coming days, but we'll have a special guest on the 30 days, 30 tips around trainer and assessor competency and currency, which I'm sure you're going to love, and I hope you'll join us because we'd love for it to be a very interactive session. But again, just coming back to the regulatory strategy and the regulator update for today's 30 days, 30 tips, trainer and assessor vocational competence and industry currency is again on the hit list, as is vet in schools. Vet in schools has also come up as an area where there is significant concern about some of the implications of vet in schools partnership arrangements and compliance with the standards. One of the biggest areas where we find in our experience with vet in schools providers is that the school provider, as in the secondary school, doesn't always have a good understanding of the requirements of the standards for RTOs 2015, and as partners in the delivery and assessment process, the compliance requirements are often not as comprehensive and stringent as they should be. So again, this is an area for TAC to be focusing on in the next year. So I really encourage you to take a look at your practices if you're engaging in vet in schools activity. Now, one of the things that they've also mentioned here is that they will be providing more PD workshops around professional development with the standards for RTOs. They'll also be updating their suite of TAC fact sheets, and they're hoping to provide more presentations at state and national forums for VET. Interestingly, they're also going to be looking at flexibility for those providers as a reward or a compliance recognition program is what they've called it. Some of you would remember from the ASQA delegation series, it's a similar thing. TAC will be removing the requirement for RTOs to submit applications or fees to the council for amendment activity for those providers who are eligible, and for eligibility details you can get those from the TAC website. That's really all that was available from the TAC website today. I haven't had a chance to have a look at the VRQA website. I'll perhaps do an update on the VRQA in the coming days also. I know that there has been a little bit of activity around there in recent times. So once again, the reason why we bring the TAC annual regulatory strategy to you is because they've released theirs in the last 24 hours. And it is usually a good indicator of what ASQA will be issuing for theirs. And of course, the ASQA update was a notification of several more cancellations and rejections of registration and re-registration, as well as the draft consultation paper on the schedule of fees and charges, which are looking to be increased. So if you haven't had a look at that yet, I hope to be able to provide you with a summary and review of the draft consultation paper in the coming days. If you can't wait that long, maybe jump on and take a look, and maybe do that in consultation with the consultation paper for the NVR standards review that closes at the end of this week. It's perhaps a good thing that it's been released, the fees and charges review has been released prior to the submissions closing for the review of the standards. So, and the NVR Act, sorry. So thank you for following us this evening. I hope that it's been a little bit helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.